hello, and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. Well, we're going to highlight something that's kind of local, based in Essex, Connecticut. It's the Essex Art Association, and I have the pleasure of having Sarah Grote, who's the Essex Art Association Gallery Director, here as my guest today. And Sarah, thank you so much for being here. It's so nice.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You know, I received a wonderful email from you yesterday, which we just talked about, that was filled with information galore, and it took me a while to go through it. But what I like to do when I first start the show is introduce the guest to the viewer. So why don't we talk about you first? Why don't you tell us about yourself and your background?
Sure. I was in corporate and nonprofit for 20 years, then had a break and started my creative journey 10 years ago. Initially in just photography, but added painting and involved with shows, juried shows, and now with a number of galleries over the past few years. Yeah.
And what I had asked you during the time before we started is, you're a photographer and a painter. Can you do both?
Yes, and one thing I want to add to that is I often use my reference photos for my paintings. So I'll have a very realistic photo, but I might have my interpretation in a different way as a painting. So it's great to have your own reference photos when creating original art.
What are your photographs about?
Primarily equine, nature, and some portraiture.
And how about the paintings? What do you like to paint?
Oh, I definitely have a range that correlate with my photographs, as well as with juried shows, they might have a theme that I'll paint too. So definitely a full spectrum.
Now, the past 10 years you have been in this endeavor. Have you entered your work in any kind of shows?
Oh, yes, a number of galleries, a couple of museums, and as featured artists in different businesses like wineries and that sort of thing, yeah.
For the viewer that is watching us that is saying, oh my God, I'm so thrilled that she's a guest today, a photographer and a painter. You can do both. What would be your advice to somebody that's just starting out?
Well, with photography, my recommendation is take a picture every day. You don't need a big camera, you don't need an expensive camera. Your iPhone or your cell phone camera, let's see what you like to take pictures of. You know, initially my philosophy is I like to celebrate my life. I like to celebrate everything, like my mom says, whether it's just a split moment in time or a great event or a person or an animal. And it's a split second that you'll never get back. So kind of hold your breath, take the picture, and enjoy the moment. So I would encourage people to practice every day. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to get a lot of gear out. Just try. If you like your cat or your dog, take a picture of them. It's great to have that. You know, some say, you know, at the end, that's all we have left. They're memories and photographs. And you know, on a heavier note, it's great to have that as a point of reference to look back on. For example, our dog passed away 2 weeks ago, and we have so many memories because of all the photos I took all the time, and so many Facebook memories, photos on our wall, and good happy times. That's how we want to remember.
Now, we'll just stay with photography for a second.
Yeah.
For the photographer that, again, is starting out or trying, do you recommend classes or workshops, networking to get involved?
All of the above. I would say there's a lot of reference information on YouTube. There's a lot of group information on Facebook, Instagram. Start with your local gallery. There's artist talks. For example, we have one with Gallery 66 every second Saturday of the month. And we have artists sit down and talk, whether it's something small or something large or problem or here's a piece that we're working on. It's great to have that conversation.
And how about the painting? When did that start? Again, the 10 years ago, did they both start together?
About 8 years ago. So I was doing the photography, and my friend and relative, Marilyn Melcarney, who's also an artist, she brought me to her studio and said, hey, I'd like you to try. And I said, okay, I'll try. And so learned watercolor, color spectrum, basics, brushes, really. And she said, you gotta keep going. I said, okay, I'll keep going. I had so much fun doing it. And then eventually she said, hey, here's some acrylics. why don't you give it a shot? So I've had some champions and mentors and supporters in my creative journey that have just loved having support and hopefully can pay it forward or reciprocate.
Now, were you able to get to a point with the painting that you thought you were good enough to let other people see it or to enter into, how do you go to galleries and say, please see me? What happens?
Well, there's all sorts of galleries, but it is a funny story how I started. I took a picture of my cat, Sparky, put it on Instagram, and I said, hey, I'll try and paint this. And I did. And I posted, and one of my friends said, hey, is that for sale? I said, I don't know. I've never sold anything before. And she said, tuxedo cats are my thing. I need to have it. I said, okay, how much? And she threw out a number. I said, sold. So it's sometimes the glimmer of fun that happens. I would just recommend trying it and putting it out there. In terms of galleries, now that's a great question too. See what galleries are in the area. See if they have open shows. See if they have juried shows. Or even just to have a conversation with the gallery director. That's a great way to get involved with the arts. And with arts, we need artists and we need art supporters. We need art buyers. We need people to help organizations become part of a board. There's a lot of ways to get gallery experience, whether you're an artist or an artist supporter.
You know, I hear so many times and I read, what is a juried something? What does that mean?
So we at Essex have two types of shows. We have an open show and a juried show. Our open show is you have two pieces, you pay a fee to be in the show, and they're in. And then it's juried for prizes. Then the juried shows that we have that aren't open, they're juried, anyone can enter them, but they're you have to pay to get in, to try and get in. Then a juror selects which ones are in the show, and then also does awards, picks the awards. And that's actually what we're doing today for our show that's opening this Friday. I just was getting ready to hang the show with some folks, taking a break here, and then going back and hanging some more. So he selected the award winners, and we'll be announcing those tomorrow.
Well, that's a good thing that you're mentioning this. We'll kind of cross over a little bit
Sure.
to the Essex Art Association. Why don't you tell us what that's all about?
So it's located on 10 North Main Street. It's a yellow building with a purple door. You can't miss it. It's a happy old schoolhouse that has changed over. Let's see, we started in 1946. Mm-hmm. So we'll be coming up soon on our 80th anniversary in 2026. And really great board of directors comprised primarily of award-winning artists. And I've loved working with them and entering all the shows, like I said, since 2017 and 18. And we also have a show in October for the Connecticut Draft Horse Rescue there. Again, a juried show that people in the horse community and our community can meet and help raise money for horses.
Now, you're the gallery director there. How did you become involved with the association?
So I became an elected artist last year, and an elected artist, you have to get into 3 juried shows within a certain period of time. In our gallery, it's 5 years. So we also had COVID, where there weren't any juried shows that year, so we had a little bit of a buffer. So I got in to the first juried show of the year, I became an elected artist, and then towards the end of the year, I was approached by the board asking if I'd like to be on the board. And I said, I'd love to be on the board. I love this place. And then, but we needed a new gallery director, had one initially, and then she decided to go to another organization. And I said, I was working for a remote company, e-learning company, and I got laid off. And I said, you know what, I love the gallery. Would you guys like me as the gallery director? Can I give it a shot? And they were like, I would love for you to be the gallery director. So since day one, we've just clicked, and we've had a really phenomenal season this year.
So as gallery director, probably people are saying, oh my goodness, I would love to be at an art location and be the gallery director. What are your responsibilities? So
that's actually a great question. I do attend the board meetings, make sure we're all on the same page with decisions, rules, shows, prize amounts, prize categories. So I work that, all the social media, all the email blasts, all the paperwork for the show, all the price lists. Even this morning I was setting up the show so the hangers could hang, basing on color, size, kind of decorating a wall, and what we thought would be best for the show. And this show has, again, it's an open show with the theme Opposites Attract. So we had quite the range of artistry and styles and colors, and sometimes pairing up over 50 artists, you have an interesting collection with interpretation of an Opposites Attract theme.
You're mentioning something that's happening now. Why don't we talk about the calendar? What do you have happening now through 2023 into 2024?
Sure. So this is our last open show of the season. Our opening reception is this Friday from 6 to 8 in 10 North Main Street in Essex. And it goes through September 16th. And then we have gallery rentals in October. So we have a duo show, we have a group show, and also the Connecticut Draft Horse Rescue Jury Show. And then we close that up, and then December 2nd we're having Chili, Cheap and Chili. So that is where artists bring in vats of chili, have artwork under a certain dollar amount, and hopefully sell a lot of pieces, and just in time for the Christmas and holiday season.
Sounds like so much fun.
It's a lot of fun, especially when you can work with people who are so fantastic and are amazing award-winning artists too. And it get through some of the mundane stuff or paperwork or whatever issues pop up. Like anything can happen.
Okay, why don't we hold that thought? I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned into Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Smart TVs and streaming services have taken over the television industry. VSC TV is proud to announce our presence on Apple TV and Roku to make watching your favorite shows even easier. You can access this service by downloading the Cablecast ScreenWeave app. Then choose Valley Shore Community TV from the list of channels. Select VSC TV Live to watch our channel in full HD. Or pick a show from our on-demand video library. VSC TV is your local Connecticut Midshore Valley digital connection.
Community TV, your neighborhood TV.
Publicly funded and a reliable partner for cable companies nationwide. It provides transparent coverage of local and state government, education, and public programming.
A digital town green that can be watched anywhere, anytime, and on any device.
Watch us on today's high-tech distribution methods.
Community TV in Connecticut.
Local,
unfiltered,
reliable, and yours.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. And we continue on with our conversation with Sarah Grote. And Sarah, we were talking a little bit during the break about the website. Why don't we take a moment and talk about it? What will the viewer find when they visit it?
On the homepage, we have what the current show is and who is in the Gantner Gallery as a solo exhibit and who the juror is for each show. And then we have other information about exhibitions, history, and contact information, and so forth.
Okay, so when they visit it, will they be able to find any kind of contact information to be able to submit themselves to you for consideration?
All entries are in person. So they would have to bring their artwork and paperwork in to the gallery, and that's when the juror decides what's in for a juried show, and then would have to pick it up if it's not in the show. So it's not on online entries. It's all in-person entries for this gallery.
For the gallery itself, though, if somebody came with a piece of art and wanted to talk to you and say, please hang me up in your gallery, is that something that might be able to happen?
No, they're only group shows, open and juried shows, not, but if they wanted to rent the gallery, that's also an option as well.
Oh, that's wonderful to know.
So in October, that's when our rental month is.
Okay, so somebody can come in and rent the space and have their own show there.
They can.
Great.
Yes.
Now, you know, Essex Art Association, you hear association and you think, oh my goodness, because this is through the state of Connecticut, this show. Is it connected with other art galleries throughout the state or even throughout the nation?
It's an individual gallery, but a lot of our artists exhibit in different galleries all over the state. Some are just shoreline, and some are wherever the gallery they want to go to, they'll make the trip. Then they'll do some pieces, and some of the artists get connections and go to other states. But yeah, we're an individual organization, but with members who are often overlapping in different galleries.
Now, we were talking a little bit before about your calendar. 2024, you're really not too sure about. When do you make decisions as to what you will do?
Well, as a seasonal gallery, we go from April through September, and then we have that one event in December. But during the off season is when we make those type of decisions. What is the exhibition season going to be? What should the prizes be? Who are the jurors that we should select or reach out to? A lot of the background, prepping for the season, making sure the financials are there, and whatever money is allocated to different areas.
Donations. Does your establishment take in money?
Absolutely, we definitely take donations and different membership too. Some, if a member pays membership fees, they're an associate member. The elected artist, like I mentioned earlier, is a former associate who got into 3 juried shows. So there's that type of membership. But there's also sponsorship, and there's a non-artist type donation too.
Okay, so you're mentioning membership, associate members, so on and so forth. So you can become a part of the association by becoming a member?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
How do you do that? Through the website?
Actually, there's forms on the website, and there's also in-person forms at the gallery. And if we have a show opening, people can send in their membership at any time. We usually do a membership mailing at the beginning of the fiscal year. So at the beginning of 2024, we'll definitely send out membership paperwork. Now,
in your bio, you mentioned equine?
Yes.
Horses?
Yes.
How did you become involved with them?
Well, that was, again, just volunteering to shoot training sessions initially for the Connecticut Draft Horse Rescue. And then the following year, they found out my fundraising experience, which was pretty extensive, and I became part of the board of the Connecticut Draft Horse Rescue in 2015, and I'm the VP for that organization.
Horses?
Yes.
Are they something that you take pictures of and paint?
Yes.
Is it something that you love to do?
I absolutely love it. It's been a life changer for me.
Do you ride?
I do not ride. I'm tall enough. I don't need to be on a horse, but I'd rather photograph them than ride them. You know, they are such incredible creatures, and draft horses are the workhorses, the large horses. Think of the Budweiser Clydesdales.
Of course.
Think of the Shires, the Percherons, the Belgians, the big heavy horses that are also known as gentle giants. And the organization's founded by an equine vet and learn something new every day.
Do you, as a gallery director, put your work up in the location itself?
I do.
You're allowed to?
I'm allowed to, yeah.
And what is it that you have up there now or in general?
With this upcoming show, I have a watercolor small painting and a large acrylic board painting that's about 4 feet long.
And what are they about?
Well, the theme Opposites Attract. My interpretation was with the watercolor, opposite on the color spectrum. So I have a blue and orange theme with that. And then the other one is a view from the Colt Dome in Hartford of the Hartford skyline. And because I have sort of like almost like I have a hell relationship with Hartford, and there's so many things I love about it, and then there's so many difficulties with it, and I just want to get my interpretation of the skyline in paint, because I had the reference photo from a few years ago, and then I said, I really want to paint this, so let's go big.
And you know, people will say she's involved, she's the gallery director now,
Yeah.
but she's a photographer and a painter and can still show her work in the facility. Is that normal?
You know, I think it depends on, every gallery is different.
So then you're able to show your work without any problem?
No, and the jurors pick the pieces in the juried shows, and sometimes you're in and sometimes you're not. That's actually a whole series you could do on juried shows.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. For our last juried show, we had 160 entries and only 80 were selected. So it was a 50-50 shot whether or not your pieces got in. Yeah.
Now, does the location have space for 80, is it 80 pieces that you're allowed to show?
Yes.
So is it large enough that you can have 80 pieces?
It is. Actually, the previous show, we had 122 pieces.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yes, you'll have to come visit. You'll have to come to our show.
I know, that's true. Do you have a studio in your home where you do the photography and the painting?
I do have an office, but it's not like a photographic studio. But I do a little bit of everything in there, and we're figuring out some home redos, if you will, figuring out where we should put what, especially with so much stuff going on.
Speaking of that, to the artist that is watching us now, who's the photographer and the artist and kind of finding their way as you found their way, can they do something in their home or do they have to go out and get space?
I think it depends on how big your work you want to work on is. Some things with watercolors, you just need a chair, table, and your supplies, and you're good to go. So you don't need a demonstrative space. Some people are doing large canvases that are many feet tall, probably would need the studio space. And I think it also depends on how you work. Some people like to have more space, and some people want to have a small confined space. Just like any artist, it's full spectrum personality.
How long do you think that you're going to be the gallery director? Do you have any desires to move on?
No, I'm having too much fun.
Oh, is it fun?
It is fun. When you can be surrounded by incredible creative and artistic people and love the shows that we're putting on, I think I'm looking forward to next year for the exhibition season.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it's cool.
So you can be the gallery director and the photographer and the artist all at once?
Depending on the day. Some days are better than others. So sometimes you got to recharge your battery and not do anything creative.
You were mentioning before we started, and I had asked you, what do you like the best? Being the photographer, being the artist, and you're saying depending on the day. Is that a normal way to feel?
I think normal is a relative term. I can't speak for anybody else, but there are times that I need to recharge and not create, sometimes get organized or see what materials I need, or kind of the logistical side of things. Also looking out to if I need to be in a particular show or if I have a particular shoot, then I have to gear up for that too. Yeah, it's but as I mentioned, I often use my photos as reference for my paintings, or if I want to enter a show that needs a cohesive theme, then I'll have a number of photographs that I submit for that purpose, or for promotion. Sometimes just taking pictures of the gallery and, hey, this is what's in the show. I think having that creative edge is the fun part, but understanding sometimes you gotta recharge.
Now, when I hear Essex Art Association and we're talking paintings,
Yeah.
is there photography there as well?
Yes.
There is?
Yes.
So is it, I've never been, so I'm asking you questions so that the audience will get to know too.
Sure.
And will hopefully come to visit.
Yep.
Is the gallery split in half? How does it display itself?
Oh, that's a really great question. So when you go into the gallery, there's the vestibule, and then you come in and there's one side of the gallery, and then there's another side equal in size on this side, and then the Gantner Gallery, which is a smaller part of the gallery. And I would say 90% of our artwork is comprised of paintings, and maybe five to 10 photography, also depending on the show. Last show we actually had a number of sculpture pieces, so that was great, but we didn't have that many earlier on in the season.
Sculpture paintings, now that's new. How did that come about?
Well, actually, a lot of the artists were sculptors, and there's a nice large space in the gallery. But I'm not sure if there's that many sculptors around right now, but we did get a few last show, and it was great to have them in.
So you can do all three?
You could. And mixed media.
That's nice.
Yeah, so mixed media where you used more than one medium. So let's say someone's using paper, acrylics, maybe some metal substance. That's what comprised mixed. And then there's different types of paintings. There's acrylic, there's oil, there's watercolor.
So to the artist that is watching us now, what would your advice, we have less than a minute left,
Okay.
What would your advice be to them about getting involved in general in the industry?
Well, contact your local gallery, look at their website, send an email, talk to maybe someone who is an artist themselves. You might want to check with your local library if they have resources about creative projects, murals. There's so many creative things. I would also recommend going to the Connecticut Office of the Arts website, which has a tremendous amount of support for artists and community in terms of programs, grants, activities, and awards.
Okay, well, I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure here too.
And I'm Deborah Gilbert. You've been tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. If you need to reach me, I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Well, I hope you have a super day today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.